So the first session we spoke about success and meaning, and we said we want you to all live a successful life. Is this better?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. So we define success like this. Success means that you achieve the purpose. So successful business, you achieve the purpose of the business. Successful marriage, achieve the purpose of the marriage. That's success, achieving the purpose. So then we said, well, what is the purpose? What is the purpose of life? And we agreed that the purpose of life is to improve yourself and improve the world. And we actually said that that's also one of the keys to happiness. Happiness doesn't come from trying to get everything you want. In fact, happiness comes from changing your perspective. Now, we just had Rosh Chodesh Adar. So Rosh Chodesh is amazing. What does Rosh Chodesh mean?
New month.
New month. But the word Rosh means a head, and Chodesh means month, but it also related to the word Chadash. And Chadash means new, so it really means a new head. So what does that mean? It means you have the chance to have a new perspective on life. That's what you want to do. You want to try and get a new perspective on life. Every month we have an opportunity to be new. The moon is big and then it gets smaller and smaller and then it disappears. So you might think that's the end, but really that's just the beginning. We're starting again. And we said that this is the month. What is Adar? Misha nichnas Adar marbin besimcha. When Adar comes in, we increase our joy. So we've got a question here. I believe we asked the question before, but how can God command me to feel something? Do you know in the Torah it says you're not allowed to bear a grudge? You're not allowed to bear a grudge. So if someone burns down your house and steals your car, you're not allowed to bear a grudge. Sorry. It's like, hold on, that's not real with my human emotions. Remember last week we spoke about being emotionally balanced, which means you're open to feeling and experiencing your emotions without letting them overwhelm you. But you've got to love Hashem. There's a mitzvah in the Torah to love Hashem. Well, what if I don't love Hashem? And there's a mitzvah in the Torah there's a mitzvah to increase your joy when Adar comes in. But what if I lose my job on Rosh Chodesh Adar? So how can the Torah command me to feel something? That's my question for you. I get that the Torah can tell me to put on tefillin because I can just put them on whether I feel like it or not. I get the Torah commands me to give tzedakah because I can just do it. It doesn't matter what I feel like. How can God command me to feel something? It's like, imagine I came up to you and said, hey, you have to love that one. I just got to randomly say, you got to love that person. Well, I can't randomly love a person. So how can God command me to feel something? That's our question. Any answers, or should I just go home?
Maybe it's like you try your hardest. Like we use the job example. You can say, okay, I lost my job. Means maybe a new job that's better is going to come my way. So even if it's like it's hard and you most likely going to fail. It's like something you should try to do. Like you have to try, but you can kind of train yourself.
I like that. I like that a lot, but I feel it hard to believe that Hashem would give me a commandment that I'm going to most likely fail. But I agree with what you're saying. Yes, please.
But isn't there the idea that that he always has your best interests in heart, that there's always something that he always has, you have to believe that he always has your best idea for you, that even if right now it doesn't seem good, that there's a reason for it, that something better is going to come out of it.
Wow, I like that a lot. That's called Emunah. I like it. Okay, good. I think we're coming to an answer. Anyone else? I see another hand going up there. Yes, please.
How about fake it till you make it? Where I'll really be nice. I can't stand you, but I'll be nice. But I'll be nice to you. And hopefully out of me being nice to you, I'll get to a point where I don't hate you so much. Honesty. Honesty.
Okay, so we got an idea. It's a rule. God cannot ask you to do something you can't do. God cannot ask you to do something you can't do. It would be a ridiculous thing to do. A parent asking a child to do something they can't do, that's a ridiculous thing to do. So the Torah is teaching us an amazing, powerful idea, which is you can be in control of how you feel. You can be. Otherwise, God can't tell you to do that. You can be in control of how you feel. This is a very, very high level of consciousness. So when it says, Adar, ma bin b'simcha. When Adar comes in, you have to increase your joy. The word b'simcha is spelled bet, shin, mem, chet, hey. B'simcha is exactly the same letters as the word machshava, which is mem, chet, shin, bet, vet, hey. And machshava means thought. So your simcha is completely dependent on your thoughts. We have spoken about this before. Your simcha, your joy in life, and whether you bear a grudge or not, and whether you love someone or not, is all completely up to your thoughts. If you have the right thoughts about any situation, you can arouse the right emotion, the appropriate, the good emotion. So we've mentioned, for example, I like it, fake it till you make it. But the truth is, in your deepest place, you do love everyone. The only thing that stops, do you know what stops us loving everyone? What actually stops us loving other people? Yeah?
Ego, fear.
Beautiful. Ego. I was actually going to say because other people are really annoying. But that's not the answer. The only thing that stops you loving everyone in the world, Jew, non-Jew, all of humanity, is your own ego. It's our own desires. We have what we want. And when people go against what we want and they annoy us and they take things that we want and then we get jealous and everything, when things don't go our way, when anyone goes against us, because we got an ego, we find it very hard to love people. So nowadays it's crazy. Pro-vaccine, anti-vaccine. People are killing each other about it. They're not, family members are fighting about, it's like, okay, we have different beliefs. Can we not love each other even though we have different beliefs? So this is what we've spoken about before. It's all and always up to us. The more that we refine ourselves, the more we raise our own level of consciousness, the more the external world doesn't bother us so much. Because once we are relying on the external world to create our reality, then we really need it to be a certain way, and it can never be that certain way. So when it's not that way, we get very upset with the other people and we don't love them and we blame them. It's their fault. See, I'd actually be a complete tzaddik already if it wasn't for other people. Other people, they just annoy me, but that's a joke. But that's what I think. That's what some people think. I'm actually great. It's just everyone else is annoying me. So what Torah is teaching us is an immensely important thing. That our state of mind and our experience of reality is completely dependent on ourselves. So we can, even if you do lose your job, you can still be joyful. And even if someone does smash your car, you can still not bear a grudge. So we got to tap into this. What is the secret, the key? We spoke about this before. We're kind of doing review. The key to happiness is?
Money.
No.
Perspective.
Good, so perspectives. I think we put it this way. Positive attitude. This is what we said. Positive attitude. So how do you define positive attitude? 8 words. Come on, we've done this before. Positive attitudes, 8 words. Anyone got notes? We're going to do it again. I'm coming to America on March the 27th, and I'm going to find you people. I'm going to ask you, how do you define positive attitude? I'm going to hunt you down. This is how you define positive attitude. Focus on the good. Grow from the bad. Focus on the good, grow from the bad. I'm always focusing on the good, always focusing on the good. What can I find good in this situation? When my child was born early, when my father was diagnosed, when I break my leg, you know what actually happened to me on Rosh Chodesh Adar? I went to the dentist and I was there, and whoever was doing the sucky thing stuck it down my throat, and I moved, and the dentist drilled a hole in my tongue. But like drilled a gash in the bottom of my tongue. And then, now if it was America, I'd be a millionaire by now. But seeing as it's Israel, they shouted at me and they were like, "Why did you move?" I'm like, hold on a second. I moved because I had a reason to move, because you stuffed that thing down my throat. I'm a human. And they were like, I said, "What should I do?" And they're like, "You'll be fine." And I was like, okay. There's blood splurting all over the place. I had to go and speak to a group there. I got blood coming out of my mouth. So how do you be besimcha with that? So positive attitude. I'm going to focus on the good, grow from the bad. So I said to someone, well, maybe I spoke Lashon Hara. And for all the Lashon Hara I've spoken in my life, this is paying it off. You know? I'm still going to sue them though for $1 million. Fine. So you have to ask yourself, do you have a positive attitude? Who feels from 1 to 10? How is your attitude? Is it positive? Are you the sort of person who's always trying to find the good in every situation, and the good in other people, and the good in the world around you? Or are you not so much? So you need to ask yourself that. So, where does your attitude come from? Whatever you rated yourself from 1 to 10, a positive attitude person or not such a positive attitude person, why do you have your attitude to life? Where does it come from?
It could be from, when you were younger, nurture, through the discipline, through how you were indoctrinated from your parents and your schooling.
Beautiful. So there are two answers to this question. The answers to this question are nature and nurture. Nature and nurture. Some people are born with a more chilled out nature. Some people are born with a more uptight nature. You're given a nature. Some people are happier by nature. Some people are more heavy by nature. Some people are more lazy by nature. Some people have more energy by nature. You're born with a certain nature. And then the other factor is your nurture. How you've been brought up, what messages you were given as a child. If you were told you're not good enough, or then you might turn into a perfectionist, or you've been given a message by your parents and by your teachers and your friends your whole life. You've been fed messages. So based on that, you also build your attitude to life. Therefore, you can't really choose your attitude. You're just stuck with whatever your nature and nurture is, correct?
No.
No, but you can change it.
Thank you. I was testing you. You're not stuck with your attitude. You could, for the rest of your life, blame your nature and your nurture. You could say, well, this is just who I am. Or, well, my parents were this, or I got bullied at school. You could justifiably, really, truly justifiably give a very good excuse for your attitude. You could, for your whole rest of your life. But I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that if I were you. Judaism teaches that actually you are here to overcome your nature and your nurture. How do we know that? Where do we learn that from? Ask me. Is it very early on Sunday morning there? Have you had your bagels and coffee yet? Have your bagels and coffee. So fine. We learn this from leaving Mitzrayim, leaving Egypt. The word for Egypt in Hebrew is Mitzrayim, which comes from the word Metzarim, which comes from your boundaries, your limitations. And your boundaries and your limitations are your nature and your nurture, and therefore you have to leave those behind. And we learn this from the splitting of the sea. When the Jewish people left Egypt, the sea split, the ultimate expression of changing of nature. The sea turned into dry land. That's the only way you can ever actually grow as a human being, is to change it. Someone said to me the other day, I'm just a high anxiety person. And I said, you're not actually. Judaism teaches you're a perfect, sweet, beautiful, shining, holy soul. You're just having lots of high anxiety thoughts. So that's why you've identified as your negative thoughts. That doesn't define you. You are actually joyful. Your natural state of being is simcha. So we've got to reveal that by getting through our nature and our nurture. I actually had a Rabbi Barry Klein. I don't know if anyone's heard of him. He's an amazing teacher. And he had a student, a 19-year-old boy with a very bad attitude. And, he was sitting at the back of the class and disturbing other people and throwing paper at people, smoking lots of weed, terrible attitude. So Rabbi Barry Klein pulled him over one side and said, what's up with your attitude? And he said, my father was very abusive when I was growing up. I had a very abusive father, physically and emotionally abusive. Did I tell you this story?
No.
It's a very hard but important story. So Rabbi Klein looked at him and said, I'm so sorry to hear that you went through that. I see that you're a really good kid and you have these good character traits and you didn't deserve that. And I'm going to be here for you. I'm going to support you. I see this good in you. If you feel you need some therapy, then I'll help you pay for the therapy and we'll work through this together. I'm so sorry. You didn't deserve this. It's not your fault. He should never treat you like that. I'm so sorry you went through that. Really built this kid up. About 9 months later, the kid's got a bad attitude again. Barry Klein sits him down and says, what's going on with your attitude? And the kid said, well, my father was very abusive. He was very physically and emotionally abusive. Barry Klein looked at him and said, no, that's what you said last time. It's a very difficult story to hear, but that kid changed his life on the spot in that moment. Because what Barry was teaching him was, you can be a victim. You can be a victim for the rest of your life, or you could justifiably blame your father. By the way, you are the victim. I'm not saying you didn't do anything wrong. It was your father. But you could justifiably for the rest of your life abuse your own children and have a bad attitude. And obviously it was my father. It was my father's fault. My father's fault. And you'd be fine. You'd be justified. No one could fault you for it. But you're not going to live an amazing life. So at some point, you've got to choose your attitude. You've got to choose that I'm going to overcome that, and I'm not going to perpetuate the abuse, and I'm going to be a good father. I've got a very good friend who had a very abusive father, and he's now the best. He's now the second best father in the world. But he's just a loving, amazing father, because he said, you know what? I'm not going to be what my father was. I'm going to choose to be different. Now, it's very, very, very difficult to overcome your nature. It's very difficult to overcome your nature, but everyone knows my least favorite phrase in the English language.
Can't do
Easier said than done.
it, but better done than said.
Easier said than done. What's the point? I know it's easier said than done. Of course it's easier said than done, but you got to do it if you want to improve. So you got to be someone who, from now, this second, before you walk out that room today, you've got to say, I'm now going to not be a victim. I'm not going to blame other people. I'm not going to blame my childhood. I'm not going to blame my boss. I'm not going to blame the weather. I'm not going to blame anything else, even though I could justifiably do that, by the way. Even though you could say, I'm not going to do that, actually. I'm going to now choose. I'm going to now choose to be great. And that's you. You got to walk out of this room today, choosing to be the greatest person that you can become, not being a victim. And that is how that's how we do it. We do it by knowing that our simcha comes from our machshava, our positive attitude. Always looking for the good in life. Number one positive attitude in life is, do we know what the number one positive attitude in life is? I'm sure we spoke about it. Positive self-esteem. Positive self-esteem. Look for the good in yourself. Look for the good in yourself. What is good about me? What am I good? Everyone turn to the person next to you, please, and say, I like the fact that I. Say one good thing about yourself. I like the fact that I'll give you an example. I like the fact that I'm a loving and joyful husband and father. Okay.
There's so much to like about it. Yes.
All right. Okay. Okay. I'm glad you like yourself so much.
Josh, what do you like about yourself?
I like the fact that Joe's coming here today.
Oh, that's very good.
What if you like something about yourself that isn't really a positive thing, but you like it?
Like what?
Now what?
Let's say, sort of like self-isolation, or, it's not, or being on your own, or not, or something like that.
I don't like that's a negative thing.
I think that's why that's it.
That's not.
Because of the way it's something that you need.
Like you want to be introvert, you need introvert.
Maybe it's something you need at that moment.
It's not positive. That is
Okay. I wish I was there.
I actually woke up.
Okay, how about this? Firstly, I believe it's very important to be able to be alone. I think it's an important thing to be able to just really be comfortable being alone. Most people spend most of their lives escaping being alone, and they're in their phones and Netflix, so it's a good thing. But maybe you could change it to say, I respect myself for. I respect myself because I'm kind, because I'm hardworking, because I'm loyal. By the way, you've got to watch out for your Yetzer Hara, because when you do this exercise, your Yetzer Hara is going to try and sabotage it. And you're going to say, I like the fact that I'm a good friend. But then your Yetzer Hara will be like, well, 3 months ago, you weren't such a good friend to that one, blah, 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 blah. And you got to say to your Yetzer Hara, so I'm not a perfect friend, but I am a good friend. I am a good friend. So I want you to write a list, not now, but as your homework, write a list of 5 to 10 things that you respect about yourself. Good character traits you have about yourself. Very, very, very important to walk around feeling good about yourself. I feel good. I respect myself. I have self-worth. It's the biggest problem facing the world today is that people don't have a natural sense of self-worth. I'm worthy. I'm lovable. I spoke to a group once, and this one person said, I'm not lovable. And they were pretty annoying, so they actually weren't so, no, that's not true. No, so they said, I'm not lovable. And I said, oh, really? Who else in this room do you think is not lovable? And he was like, no, but that's different. It's like, everyone's love. Everyone deserves love. He said, I don't deserve love. That's what he said. I don't deserve love. I said, well, who else doesn't deserve love? Name one other person in your life who doesn't deserve love. And they were like, well, I can't. So you think you're the only person on the face of the planet that doesn't deserve love? So unfortunately, we have these negative things in our head about ourselves. Now we're working, especially in the month of Adar, to make sure that all of our thoughts are positive and uplifting and healthy. By the way, it's true. All the positive thoughts you have about yourself are true. All the negative thoughts you have about yourself are not true. How can I say that? How can I say that? surely you're a bit good and you're a bit bad. You have good traits and you have bad traits. So how can I say that the bad traits aren't true? You don't have to feel bad about them, but the good traits are true. Either you're your traits or you're not. Cohen?
We discussed this in the first class. You said that a person is essence has a good soul and we're all good. And the bad is just the negativity that came into us, and we just have to recognize it, that it's really not us.
Beautiful, thank you. So this means that if you ever say a sentence, I am, and then anything negative, I am anything negative, is not true. It's not going to make you feel good. It's not going to make you feel empowered, and it's not true. We said actually in that class that if you ever find negative character traits about yourself, all you have to do is start working on them, and then you can feel good about them. I feel good about myself for working on my negative character traits, and I feel good about myself for my good character traits. That's all. So since that class, have people actually found literally that they are more on a consistent basis thinking nice things about themselves? Do you have a positive voice? Because I don't want these classes to be weekly inspiration. It's almost a waste of time, weekly inspiration. This has to be actually transformational. What's the difference between inspiration and transformation, by the way?
Lasting effects.
Yeah, inspiration just wears off. It's like, okay, that was very inspirational, and then it's like a big fire. In fact, the bigger the fire, the sooner it wears off. So it needs to have a lasting effect. So in order for it to have a lasting effect, you need to actually do the work. You need to do the avoda, which means you need to be actually more conscious of what thoughts are coming into your mind and start putting more positive thoughts into your mind. So you have to start focusing. That's why I want you to write a list of these positive things and start focusing on these things. And whenever your mind says negative beliefs about yourself, then you can just say, I do that, but I'm good. I have these positive things and I'm working on those. Yes, a question.
So what if you are working on yourself and trying to create these positive things about yourself, but you have people around you that are degrading and demeaning of you, and it enters into your head and into your soul and into your heart?
That's an excellent question. The truth is that yeah, don't be friends with those people. But it's hard sometimes because it's often your family or the people who are closest to you, unfortunately. So the truth is that it's exactly the same as with those thoughts in your head. You have to have a strong enough sense of self to not let those people's negative attitude affect you. Now, this is very important. I believe we also spoke about this, especially anyone says anything negative and critical to you. And by the way, the more negative and the more critical it is, the more what I'm about to say is true. It's their own pain. I want you to understand this very, very clearly. Other people's negativity and criticism and judgmental and putting you down has got nothing to do with you. And the more intense it is, the less it has to do with you. It's their own stuff. Did you hear that? Very important. So what we should do, now this is a very, very high level, is that if someone is like that, you realize that they are in pain, and we should feel compassion for those sorts of people. We should feel sad. I feel sad when my daughter comes home from school and she's like, Abba, this girl wasn't nice to me. I say to her, firstly, I validate her emotions, but I then say she must be in some sort of pain. We should pray for her. We should try and be nice to her. The way to deal with those people, by the way, is always be nice back. Because they can't, how can you fight when someone's nice back? If you get hooked, if a bully hooks you, then it gives them power. But if you can be nice back, it actually takes away their power. And remember, if people are being negative, it's because of their own pain. So they need some love. They need a hug, basically. I used to do this in Israel, where I'm riding on my bike and someone almost runs me over and then they shout at me. It's really weird. That's how it works in Israel. They drill a hole in my tongue and then they shout at me for it. Anyway, so they nearly run me over. So I used to say this, do you need a hug? But then I realized that was very passive aggressive. So I stopped. But I really felt that. Hold on. My battery's about to die. I'm just going to jump on a phone and reconnect here. 1 second.
I don't think you can make somebody more angry quicker than after the hug. But you realize that too.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm back in new form here. I'm leaving that meeting. Brilliant. Hi, I'm back with you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. It's even better now. Okay. I told you the story about my daughter when she went, the girl said to her, I don't like you. No?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like you. She said, well, that's okay. I like you. It's very important to be nice back. My son trying to do it is not as good. It's not as subtle. Someone said to my son the other day, you're stupid. So he said, well, you're not stupid. So fine. So first positive attitude shift that we're trying to implement in our life is I feel good about myself. 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 So the more I feel good about myself, the less your negativity affects me. The less your negativity affects me. But you have to be strong. It's very hard. You're right. It's very hard. When people are really being negative to you, it's very hard to find that strength. That's why you have to have your list of things and just a general positive voice going in your head the whole time. Just general positivity. I feel good about myself. I respect myself. I love myself. Just to have these things. People have low self-esteem just because they're saying the negative thing about themselves over and over again. They're saying it over and over again. So rather than doing that, just change the soundtrack in your head to saying positive things about yourself. The next major attitude shift we need to have, if we want to have real simcha, is samech b'chalko, which means true gratitude. Really feeling grateful for everything we have in our lives. And I believe we touched on this as well in the first session. The real gratitude. If we're in the top percentage of privileged people on the face of the earth, you should be walking around all the day feeling, wow, I am so blessed. I'm so blessed. So how many of you in the last week have had moments of true gratitude? Where you just sat and you felt, you know what? There are several things that I don't have in my life, and I have challenges in my life, but I have a whole list of amazing things that I have in my life. So we're trying to zoom in on that, but unfortunately our thoughts tend to zoom in on the more negative things, on that I don't have this, and I wish I had that, and I wish I had a better body, and I wish I had a better car, and I wish I had a better job and a better if things were different, then I'd be happy. So we're always focusing on if things were different, then I'd be happy. We'll never be happy. So you've got to start focusing on being happy with what we have. Next attitude shift, and by the way, we're coming up to Purim. Amazing. So Purim teaches us an amazing attitude shift, which is, and the more gratitude you have, the more you're going to have this, is to try and be someone who's giving to other people. Giving to other people gives you immense fulfillment in life. Because most people are focused on what can I take? How can I get more? But if you're focused on how can I give to other people, that gives you immense meaning and immense fulfillment in life. We actually said if the purpose of life is to improve yourself and improve the world, then that means that I'm improving myself by having gratitude, and I'm improving the world by being there for other people. I've got a student in Canada who suffered from depression for many years. And together we set up an organization in Canada to get people who are suffering from depression to do volunteer work. And through the volunteer work, they kind of stepped out of their own mind and their own problems, and they realized, hold on, I can be useful, I can help other people, I can be there for other people. So it really helped them process to get beyond themselves and be there to give to other people. Someone said to me, hold on, Purim is just like Halloween. And I said, no, Purim is the opposite of Halloween, because what do you do on Halloween? On Halloween, you dress up as evil and you go around taking trick or treat, taking from other people. On Purim, we dress up as tzaddikim, Queen Esther and Mordechai, and we dress up as tzaddikim and we go around giving. We have a mitzvah to give to other people, because giving creates love. Giving creates connection. Taking creates separation. As we said before, when you have your ego and I want to take for myself, so taking creates separation, whereas giving creates connection. And connection creates love. And love creates good feeling. So that's what we want to be tapping into this. So unfortunately, there are some people who never give to themselves. They're very good at giving to other people, but they're not so good at giving to themselves. So first you have to invest in yourself. And how can you tell if you're giving in the right way, for the right reason? Some people, if you're giving, but you're getting very, very resentful when you're giving, because you're not getting back. I'm giving, but people aren't thanking me and giving back. It means you're giving for the wrong reason. You're giving almost as a way of taking, because when I give, people like me or people respect me, or so giving has become a form of actually taking. So when you're giving in order to take and you're not receiving, then you get resentful. For someone who's happy in themselves and they have deep gratitude, they just want to give. And we see this with parents. Parents just want to give to their children. If you love someone enough, it's unconditional giving. It's called chesed. It's the ultimate character trait. Chesed. Is this a person who has real chesed, which means unconditional? I'm just giving for the sake of giving. I'm giving to connect. I'm giving for love. So we want to really try and be in that state. But it means you have to give to yourself first. You have to nurture yourself. You have to give yourself time. You have to give yourself respect. You have to feel good about yourself first. But once you feel very good about yourself, then you can start giving. They work together, by the way, because if you're giving a lot, then you can feel good about yourself, but don't rely on giving to other people to feel good about yourself. Rely on focusing on your good points. Rely on focusing on how much blessing you have in your life. And then you should be overflowing and you want to give to other people. So those are the first 3 positive attitude shifts that we want to try to connect into. Feeling good about myself, for having good character traits, for having the right values, for always trying to do the right thing. I'm always trying to do the right thing. Even though I mess up sometimes, I feel I have self-respect. By the way, when you get into bed at night and you can think to yourself, I did the right thing today. I tried to do the right thing, to think the right thing, to say the right thing, to do the right thing, to feel the right thing. My motivation in life is to do the right thing, self-respect. So once you have that feeling, then life becomes much, much easier and not so affected by external circumstances. Then we're giving to other people. Then the next shift we want to try to have, and what people struggle with a lot nowadays, is people are very worried. They don't feel at ease a lot. Lots of anxiety, I find. Because what people tend to do is they play out difficult scenarios that are going to happen. So how do you deal with worry and unease? And by the way, it doesn't make sense. I had a student the other day, he took an exam on Monday and he was worried all week, he was worried about his result, which was coming out the next week on Friday. So how does worrying help in that situation? Anyone? It doesn't help. Rational people don't do things that don't help. Is everyone now thinking to themselves, oh, I'm just not a rational person? Rational people don't do things that don't help. So yeah. So how do you stop worrying? What's the key to stop worrying? Now we already know it doesn't really help us to worry. but it's easier said than done. So what's the key to stop worrying? Positive attitude and thoughts good, but what exactly? What's the practical tool that you need to implement in your life? Breathing techniques, good, that's good. Anything else? So let me ask you this. Sorry?
Being involved in something else.
Good. So distracting you. I think there's a way of doing it without even distracting yourself. I got a question for you. What percentage of things do you think, what percentage of things that you worried about in your life actually happened?
Probably 10%.
It's got to be very few. You worried that you were going to miss the bus, or you were worried that, very good, 1 to 2%. Very few percentage of things you've ever worried actually happened. How about, what percentage of things you worried about did happen, but it wasn't so bad?
20%.
Yeah. What percentage of things do you think you worried about and it did happen and it was as bad as you thought it was going to be?
30.
It's a very small percentage. And by the way, what of those things that you worried about and it did happen and it was so bad, what percentage of those things killed you? I'm going to go for none. There you go. Do you know how I know that, by the way?
Because we're here.
Yeah, I can see you there. Now, you might be still struggling and you might have to have therapy and something, but if you have a positive attitude and a good therapist and a support network, even those worst things that you worried about, even those things that did happen, you can actually find growth and meaning and purpose in them. So we've now identified that everything you've ever worried about, 95% of them didn't happen. 4% of them did happen, but you dealt with it. It wasn't so bad. And maybe 1% of them you're still dealing with and it's very challenging, but with the right support and positive attitude, you're going to be okay. So this, by the way, I'm going to save everyone thousands of dollars in therapy and alcohol. This is the key to dealing with worry, is to say to yourself this. You just breathe very deeply and you just say to yourself, I'm sure it's going to be okay. I'm sure it's going to be okay. Now, are you lying to yourself? Are you deluding yourself when you say that?
No.
No, we've just identified factually that I'm sure it is going to be okay because it's not going to happen, or it will happen and you'll deal with it. So to gently put your hand on your heart area and breathe very deeply, breathe there very deeply and just be like, I'm sure it's going to be okay. I'm sure it's going to, and your mind might say, no, it's not, it's terrible, and this will happen. Just to breathe deeply and say, I'm sure it's going to be okay. I'm sure it's going to be okay. Maybe smell some lavender oil. Have a little bit of chocolate. We spoke about this before. Listen to nice music. Just calm your whole system down. Sure it's going to be okay. 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 Very, 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 very important technique. When Ada comes in, you have to increase our joy. And how do you do that? With your machshava, with your thoughts and your perspective on life. We've got to be people who are focused and training ourselves to find the good and to grow from the bad. So that's, by the way, this is another positive attitude shift. When things really are bad, you can be a victim or you can cry. No one says you can't cry. Or you can cry and say, okay, but what am I going to use this pain for? How am I going to use this pain? How am I going to help other people? Other people are also going through pain, so I'm going to use my pain to be there for others. My wife and I now, we had the baby born 3 months early. So we put a sign up in the hospital saying any English-speaking people who had a baby early, because it's hard in Israel often, reach out to us because we've now been through it. We've been through the difficulty of having a premature baby. And so we also understand the medical system more, but just emotionally. So now, because we went through something painful, even more so, we can then be there for other people. So That's how to deal with our challenge, to deal with our pain. We don't let our pain define our reality. We have pain, but that doesn't become our whole. I know people who, someone came up to me and he was like, I am the guy whose parents got divorced. And that's become his whole identity. I'm the one whose parents got divorced. I'm the one who got bullied. That is who I am. So that's not who you are. That's something that you experienced that was very, very painful. But that isn't your whole reality. You've got to use that pain, and you've got the rest of your life. You've got your gratitude and you've got your positive thoughts, but you can actually use your pain to be there for other people. So that's called the growing from the bad. We said focus on the good, grow from the bad. The growing from the bad is I'm going to use my pain, not be a victim to it. I'm going to use it to help other people, be there for them. And the final, what's the key? We actually mentioned it at the beginning of the class, but the key to all positive attitude and all good character traits and complete joy and perfection in life. It's just the one thing. If you have it, you're okay. If you don't, it's going to be a struggle.
Faith.
Pardon?
Faith? Emunah?
Yeah, emuna. So what does emuna mean? Emuna means that I know that everything that happens to me is actually there to help me. Even though it doesn't feel like it, even though I can't understand it necessarily, everything that I'm going through, everything in my life, I can grow from this if I have the right attitude to it. So this is what we're really, really trying to tap into. Emunah. So this is why, by the way, just because we're coming up to the Megillah and Purim, Emunah is knowing that Hashem is behind everything. In the Megillah, there is no Hashem's name. So it feels like Hashem isn't there. But exactly in those times where it feels, hold on, Hashem's not there, we have to know that Hashem is here. He's holding our hand. He's always there for us. He's always watching us. However, is challenging. It's only through your challenge and your difficulties in life that you can have emunah, because when everything's going your way and everything feels good, then you don't need emunah. It's just like, okay, this is good. I like this. But when you start facing challenges, to know that there's meaning, there's depth, there's meaning, there's purpose behind everything I'm going through, and I can grow from this, is very, very, very comforting. It's the ultimate positive attitude shift. So if we really had emunah, everything I'm going through is for my best, then we wouldn't be jealous, and we wouldn't be angry, and we wouldn't be hateful, and we wouldn't have regret and guilt and doubt and fear and remorse and anxiety. We'd actually know that everything is how it's meant to be in order to help me grow. So emunah is really our key. So how do you build emunah, by the way? Wow, we need to do another 3-part series. And how do you build emunah? So it says in Tehillim, He'emanti ki adaber. You build emunah by speaking about it. By speaking about it, like, first of all, speaking to yourself about it and saying to yourself, I know that this is for my best. I know that I can learn from this. I know I can grow from this. And speaking to Hashem about it, please Hashem, help me see why this is for my best. And then speaking to other people about it. I feel emunah is that I have the perspective that everything's for my best. So I start seeing the world through those eyes. I see the world through, I don't look at the world and then doubt Hashem. My baby is born early, that means there's not a God, or God hates me, or God's not all powerful, or God doesn't love me. Most people, they believe based on what they see. They see something and therefore they believe it. So Judaism says it's the opposite. You actually see based on what you believe. So if you believe you're not good enough, then that's how you'll start seeing your relationships. If you believe life is not fair, then you'll start seeing life as not fair. But if you have this belief that everything's fair, everything's there to help us, even if it's painful, then life becomes so much more beautiful and so much easier. So we just keep saying to ourselves over and over again, I know this is for the best. I know it's for the best. Oh, we run out of time. Are there any questions? Yeah.
Rabbi, would you say that in order to have a certain level or a high level of emunah, you also have to have a high level of bitachon, trust? Do you think they go hand in hand?
Yes. The difference between emunah and bitachon, by the way, Bitachon's in a higher level, in a way. Emunah is the understanding that everything is for the best. Bitachon is that you're living with that. Here's the best example I heard of Emunah and Bitachon. A man walks across a tightrope 50 times, across the Niagara Falls, across a tightrope. Do you believe he can do it?
He's done it
Yeah.
50 times.
He did it 50 times, you believe it. Now he does it blindfolded 150 times. He does it blindfolded, walks up and down 150 times. Do you believe he can do it?
Yes.
Now he does it blindfolded 150 times with a fully grown man on his shoulders. Fully grown man on his shoulders, 150 times, you're walking across. Do you believe he can do it?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Do you get on his shoulders? So that's bitachon. Emunah is, I know he can do it with a fully grown man. Bitachon is, all right, then get on his shoulders. So bitachon is that, bitachon means that I'm living with that. It means not only can I say everything's for the best, but when my computer breaks and I didn't save any of my work, I don't freak out about it. Okay, any other questions?
Drops the mic.
Everything. Anyone else have a question?
I had a question, Rabbi.
Yeah.
Wait, I don't know if you were being silly or if you really meant it. Are you really coming to America in March? Like, are you going to be doing a?
I am. I'm going to be in New York on March the 27th.
Can you give details about like any lectures you're doing? If like I
I'm
would
not sure yet. I'm trying to arrange some things.
Okay. And I did have another question. You had mentioned something before about people who are like insecure and criticize and judge. Like, is it like a defense mechanism? And if it is that like projection where you're putting your negative thoughts onto somebody else?
100%. If someone doesn't feel good about themselves, they often need to put other people down to feel up. I got to push people down to make myself feel up. For someone who's happy, I'm already good about myself, so they want to push other people up. They want to pull other people up. Happy people always want to help other people because they also get more meaning and fulfillment in giving and helping other people. But someone who doesn't have a sense of self needs to look at what's wrong with everyone else because that makes them feel not so bad about themselves. So
Everyone, thank you very much.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Rabbi Shlomo, that was awesome. You're the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're awesome. Maybe we'll hang
Oh,
out.
Rabbi, how can we find out about the details though? Is it on a website? Would it be on your website about your lecture that you're going to be presenting?
I'm not that professional yet.
Yeah, we'll be in touch.
All right.
My email address is dbcohen@h.com. Email me.
Okay, I will. I definitely will. Thank you.
Is it h.com or are you studying to you?
Same, both.
I'm sure Rabbi G has it.
Depends on your perspective on any given day.
Thank you so much.